Howdy howdy, and welcome back to episode 11 of Creative Freedom. As you can tell, I'm standing in front of the build that we started last episode, the start of the cathedral. Again, still think it looks really good. Wish I redid the texturing, but that's fine. But as you can tell, I did put some more details in, like the windows, and then I did do some lighting on the interior, just so there's no mob spawning, because I blew it up so many times while building it, and I was tired of dealing with the creepers. But now it should be all spawn proof. Also on the interior, I put platforms or just sectioning off the towers just so I can maybe start building interiors in there. Don't know quite yet. That might be again future builds like I always say. But for this episode, I want to kind of turn our attention to that big light blob over there. So for this episode, I want to start working on this barn I've been telling you guys about. Before we get started, I kind of want to show you my inspiration. There's this one barn that I passed while driving around, and I just think it's the composition of it. It's so pretty. It's just a nice lonely bar on top of a hill, and then you just have rolling mountains in the background. So my goal today is to get the barn built and then build the rolling mountains around it, or just the plot of land around it. I can't do the mountains quite yet. That might be a future thing, but I'm also going to add some silos in the back. So let's start with getting this dirt down. As you can tell, I've already started it, but let's roll into a time lapse and I'll see you guys at the end of it. Welcome back from that lovely time lapse. As you can tell from behind me, the terrain is finally complete. It turned out perfect in my opinion. I absolutely love it. It's got some plateau areas which I intentionally designed in because later in this project you'll see what I'm going to cover this hill in. But I gotta say, for my first attempt, I think it turned out really good. It was definitely a lot more work than I thought it would be. I think overall it took me about 6 to 7 hours to get all the dirt and then start making like a scaffolding frame of what I want the mountain to look like. If I go into cheat cam real quick, I can go show you the backside over there. I'm really proud of with how the backside turned out. I had to make like a cliff element over here since it was butting up against this river and I didn't want to obscure it. I will in the future go back and turn some of this area into stone, do some more custom terrain work, but for right now I just wanted to get this base layer down just so when you're standing by either on top of that mushroom over there or by that house, you just have this nice that rolling hill effect and it'll just lead up to this barn right here. Our next step that we need to do is start gathering materials for the barn. But before we do that, I actually have to create a guardian farm because one of the blocks that I'm going to be using, or one of the blocks in the palette I'm going to be using is prismarine. And I've actually never made a guardian farm, so I looked up a simple YouTube tutorial. I'll link it down in the description, of course. But I say we can start heading over there. Before we actually go over there, I kind of want to show you that I finally made it to the nether roof, and I'm starting to make nether portal connections, or maybe a hub soon in the future, but right now I got my main portal, and then the ocean monument portal should be over this way. So I will see you guys there. So we're at the location now. It's about 1,000 blocks away from my base. If you look behind me, my base will be that way if I get the nether portal out of my way. So base 1,000 blocks that way, and then about 1,000 blocks right behind me too is where my farms are. So it's in a great location. It's not that far away from me, but not to bore you guys, I think we're gonna do a fun little transition. And we're done. As you can tell, it's a pretty simple build, so if I go over there, I can kind of show you how it works. We'll first go up to the killing chamber over here, just so we could be right next to it. Let me go into cheat cam real quick. How this works is we just kind of shave the top off the ocean monument, some soul sand, so whenever guardians come and swim towards the soul sand, they get shot up through the scaffolding, get pushed in the center, and then go all the way up this pillar. Once it's up in this pillar, they start cramming against each other and pushing each other into the campfires over here, which kill them, and we have the drops. Last piece of it is just a AFK spot all the way up here. So if you think about how mobs spawn around a player, it's usually in this big sphere. So let's say I'm here, the sphere could be like this big, or it's usually much larger. So the reason why we put the spawning platform so high up is so the end of the sphere is just clipping through this bottom part of the ocean monument, causing more rates of the guardians to spawn in there, which make it drastically faster. If I go up this pillar, I can just go ahead and quickly show you. Once I get landed in, I'm gonna sit in this corner, back into the free cam, and then if we wait a second, you can see it ramps up a lot quicker because they can only spawn within this area right here. It also doubles as a squid farm, because sometimes the squid will spawn and they'll attack the squids and the ink might go up. So if you look at the killing chamber up here, they get crammed in, pushed over, and then they die. Since we got all the materials now, I kind of want to sit down and kind of talk about the palettes that we'll be using. I already have it all set out right here, so to kind of visualize the barn is going to be like a foundation, the top, and then the roof. So for the foundation, we're going to have this nice gray to white gradient, just kind of give it some grunginess to it. And then for the wood face, I decided to go with this blue teal color to try to match what was in the photo. So we got the darker tones with the warped planks, all the way to the prismarine, which we just got from that farm that we just made. And then for the roof, I'm going to have this andesite color too up there, but I want to do some rust texturing, and I've decided to go with junglewood and andesite. Moving over to the silos, I've decided to go for a nice dark red to light red gradient to kind of highlight the contrast in the shadows. So we got this nice dark nether brick all the way to this crimson warped stem. And then for the roof, we're gonna have some nice deep slate tile roofing with maybe some highlights on there. With everything being laid out and collected, I think we should go ahead and roll into this time lapse, and I'll see you guys at the end. Welcome back from that lovely time lapse. As you can tell, the barn and the silos are both complete. I think they turned out really good. I love how I used the green on the front over here, or the green bluish color, and then some red to complement it over there. If I go into free cam real quick, I kind of want to show you some smaller details I did, like this little hoist in the front, so the people in the barn can start storing the hay up top, and then just some nice windows. Moving over to the silos over here, I think they turned out really good. I tried doing some shadow and lighting effects, so with some shadow I used nether brick down in the corners, and then on the opposite just used some more brighter warped crimson stems. I also love the little ladder shielding going around using the copper. I think it turned out really nice, having that nice pop of green in there that complements the barn. Moving to the back over here, I kind of wanted to explain what this is in the back. If you ever go through the Appalachian Mountains, you'll start noticing that barns out here will have these like nice quilt patterns on them. And my favorite fun fact about them is that the reason they did that was back in the day, they didn't know whose barn was who, so they started having these patterns put up on the barn so people could tell. It's kind of like a family crest for farmers. And I wanted to include that on the back of mine, so I always like dealing with blue and oranges and then just some black just to give it a little pop that matches the silos. And then lastly, I tried doing some rust on top of the roof because this is supposed to mimic like the tin roof in the photo that I showed you at the beginning of the video. And I think it turned out alright. I might go back and try to tweak it a little bit, but for now, I like it. What my plan is for the future is I want to start moving all my farms down into this hole down here. So wheat farm, carrot farm, beetroot farm, maybe bone meal farms, definitely cows and sheep and stuff like that. Just start putting them in down this little area. I'll make this interior much prettier. Might have like an axis elevator that goes up and down. So like underneath is hiding a laboratory, but that's stuff that we can talk about in the future. But for now, I think I'm going to end this video right here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!